got some really unexpected visitor this week. Hi, welcome to the Art App, and today we're going to talk about the palette that broke my no buy and whether it was worth it. So in my hands, I have a Galactic Visitor, the very first palette from Singe Beauty, a brand created by Angelica Nyqvist, who, let's be real, is the queen of colorful makeup here on YouTube. I will link the reveal video of the creator below in case you haven't seen it, but I think you've already have seen it. The moment I saw her revealing this palette, I knew I would eventually cave in. First of all, the holochromes. I was dying to try them. Secondly, the color story was really calling to me. I tried to dupe the second palette, the Agathe Temptation, and it turned out that I have like 95% of the shades. But this one, it was much harder to dupe and I really loved the vibe. Plus, knowing Angelica Nyqvist's preferences in shimmers, I knew they would be perfect for me. And they are. But the real surprise for me in this palette were the mattes. They were like, wow, I will break everything down for you look by look, but just know, I didn't expect to love mattes as much as I did. This is my very first look with that eyeshadow palette, and of course, I had to try Milky Way, the holochrome shade, because how could I not? I popped Milky Way all over the lid, and for the outer corner, I blended Peace within and a touch of Hoodoos. Then for the inner corner and a little bit along the lower lash line, I went in with Saucer. The eyeshadows are very pigmented. I went in slowly, just a little bit at a time to build up the intensity. And the blend is so smooth. I'm really impressed. The shade Peace really surprised me. I thought that it would be a warm tone red, something like Mulberry from ABH Soft Glam. But no, it has a very rich berry purple base that shows beautifully, and as a cool tone girly, I just love it. Now Milky Way. It is this stunning, super finely milled holochrome with satin texture. I've been wearing this makeup look for like, I think 5 hours, and there is no creasing on my lids. That is saying a lot. Now, in my studio under artificial lights, it's shiny, it's sparkling, it's shifty, but when I went outside, and I would say it's like overcast today, it gives more like a silvery satin vibe. It's not loud or like glittery, it's very elegant and forgiving, and texture lids approved, and I would say work appropriate. I would definitely wear it to the office without like feeling super extra. Just a little bit. I had high hopes for Milky Way and it did not disappoint. But the shade that really surprised me is the one called In, because it is actually magical. If you love working with intense colors but you struggle with blending them, put this shade at the edge of your blend and magically it will melt that intense color into your skin. It's so easy to work with and I will continue playing with it. I'm really impressed, like really impressed. So for this look, I was trying to go for a halo eye. I used Peace on both the inner and the outer corners, popped Orbit right in the center, and then ran Encounter along the lower lash line. Now, when I first saw this palette, I thought that this shade is a kind of break brown, and therefore Orbit, a kind of steel blue, will pop nicely against it in the halo eye. But as you can see from my eye look, Cowgirl is pulling kind of dusty purplish berry on me, and the look turned out a little bit not what I originally anticipated. Also, please ignore kind of a patch I have here. I think my eyes decided to do their own thing and started unexpectedly to tear up. Also, let's talk about how smoothing the shade Encounter is. I have it along my lower lash line, and even if I look a little bit closer, I won't be able to see the fine lines I have there. Now what I'm thinking, maybe let's try to put it also in the center of the lid. Let's try to do that. Which one do you think looks better? With the shade encounter in the middle of the lid or without? Let me know in the comment section below. I think I prefer the eye without it. Of course, I couldn't stop just on putting encounter on this eye. I put beam on the other, and I think it looks so exciting, even better than this one. The shade Believe was straight up whispering, blue smoky eye. And who am I to say no? So I went with it. I used Believe all over the lid. It's this gorgeous mixture of blue and silver sparkles. Then I popped Beam in the inner corner to lighten things up and blended everything with Infinity. At first, I was kind of hesitant about using Infinity. It's that darker teal shade that I thought would be a little bit too dark for the transition. But oh my god, it blended up so beautifully. I didn't even need to deep into other shades like In or We. And that is what surprises me about this palette. I thought I would miss mid-tones for transition, blending, or maybe going from one shade into other, but in this palette, darker and lighter shades melt into each other, so I don't even miss mid-tones here. And then I got a little bit experimental. Total Pinterest moment. I got this pin saved forever, and now I decided to give it a try. I used Space Dust right in the center of the lid and then Infinity for those inner and outer corner curves. Also, I added Soul in both the inner and outer corner in order to give a little bit of graphic feel to the look. It's definitely for sure very experimental, a little bit artsy as for me, and to tell you the truth, I had so much fun trying to recreate that look. And as of today's looks, I was going for a kind of smudge eyeliner look. I put Calm all over my lid. Peace is smudged along the top and bottom lash line, and I put We in the crease. And also I put a little bit of lime eye pencil in my waterline to make berry tones pop a little bit more. And no creasing. I've been wearing this makeup for last like 5 hours and no creasing. I had a really high hopes for this palette, but it's very hard to be objective because the person who created this palette is the same one who taught me how to do my makeup in the first place. But let's get a deep dive. First of all, it is very compact. Comparing to ColourPop's That's Taupe, which holds 9 pans, this one has 16. The packaging is soft matte with some elements having a kind of glossy finish to make them pop whenever you move the palette and maybe make them look a little bit more special. The inside is also soft matte, and at first I thought it might be tough to keep it clean, but you can just wipe the shadows off and it is brand new. The mattes have a little bit of kickback, but nothing crazy. And also they have 2 magical shades, We and In. Those are absolute lifesavers. If you have got a little bit too high or a little bit too dark with your blend, these 2 shades act as a little eraser. They help you to soften the edges and bring the light to the places that actually need that. Also, as far as I remember from the original video, the palette is divided into 2 parts, the warmer one and the more cool tone ones. And I was not really excited about these red tones, which I'm not a big fan of. But funny enough, they pull berry on me, which I actually love, and I will get so much use out of it. So overall, I would say that mattes are super pigmented. So a piece of advice, go light-handed at first and then build it up. So the other shade that I haven't mentioned is Saucer. It's super nice in a corner pop. Also Hudos. Today I'm wearing this shade as my blush and I think it's very cute. And Infinity. So that is the shade that surprised me, I think, the most, because I have problems blending this kind of teal shades. They go patchy on me, but this one, it worked beautifully. Maybe even if you have like cooler undertones like me, you don't even need a transition or crease shade because it blends itself. The only matte that I had a little bit of trouble was the shade called Orbit. I used it in the center of Halo Eye and I applied it on the concealer. Maybe that was actually the problem. So at first on camera it looked fine, but like 20-25 minutes into wearing it, I thought that it started to dull down. I had to go back and relayer it. I think maybe the concealer had just eaten up the pigment while it was setting, but after I reapplied it, it looked fine for the rest of the day. The only shade that I haven't used is a shade called Eclipse, mainly because I didn't feel the need to deepen anything more than I already had. The rest of the shades gave me enough depth for the contrast without going straight to black. And for the soul, I'm not a yellow person, so that was okay for me. Now let's talk about the sparkly stuff. We have three metallics: Calm, Space Dust, and Believe. All three of them sit on a kind of sheer base, so you can easily use them as toppers with a fluffy brush. But if you're going for a full metal sparkly effect, use them the way Angelica Nicholas does. Pick them with a brush, spray a little bit of setting spray, and then apply on your lids. You will have an instant molten metal effect. What I really personally love about them is they are not greasy or emollient. They are on a drier side, meaning they are very forgiving on textured lids. Also, they are not blinding, but quite sparkly, especially in daylight, and they are super office friendly. Now the two duochrome toppers. The first one is Beam. I'm obsessed with that. It stole my heart. It is super smooth and it shifts from mint to turquoise, and I actually find a very close dupe in my collection. Beam is more sheer with scattered sparkles, while Reflectance from Clinical Cosmetics has a more satiny, opaque base. Still very close. Encounter has the same formula, but it shifts from pink to blue and is also very smooth and very sparkly. But the main star of this palette among shimmers for me is of course Milky Way. It is such a cool shade. When it is overcast or you're in a soft lighting, it reads silver pink kind of satin, but under direct light or electric light, it just explodes with a rainbow of tiny colorful sparkles. It's very delicate, eye safe, very comfy, and once again, very friendly for textured lids. So was this palette worth bringing my no buy? 100% yes. This palette feels like something a color lover created for not only other color lovers, but people who are a little bit intimidated by bolder shades. It is invitation for everyone to play with color. And I even caught myself thinking about maybe planning it in the future, meaning that I see the actual use of it in my everyday routine, not just swatching and forgetting about it. And that's very exciting. I had a blast playing with it for the last several days, and I really enjoyed having it. If you have this palette, let me know how it works for you. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. I'll see you next time. Bye!